Chosen ones, a demon was sent to kill you, but your light made him fall in love. Welcome to the chosen bloom. This is more than a channel, it's a sanctuary for the awakened. If you're here, you're not lost. You're being called. Chosen one, pause. Take a deep breath and listen, not just with your ears, but with your spirit. If you're hearing this now, it's not by chance. This moment has been divinely orchestrated for you. Something greater is unfolding, and your presence here is proof. What I'm about to share may shift how you see yourself and your place in this world. A demon was sent to destroy you. Its mission was clear: extinguish your light, erase your essence, and silence your purpose. But what happened next was something no dark force could have foreseen. Instead of crushing you, it was caught off guard, not just by your survival, but by your presence. It didn't just encounter resistance, it encountered transformation. And it was your light that caused it. It came expecting fear, bitterness, or rage. But what it met was something far more powerful, a steady, unshakable force. A presence rooted not in reaction, but in truth. Your essence disrupted its darkness. It exposed lies. It shifted the atmosphere. From the moment it crossed your path, nothing remained the same, not for it, not for you, and not for the spiritual realm around you. Your presence rewrote the narrative. This isn't just a story of survival. It's a cosmic revelation. You didn't simply overcome, you altered something much bigger than yourself. What took place in that moment echoed into realms unseen. Your life carries weight beyond what you know. So hear me clearly. This message is a mirror. It reflects who you are. You're not here to shrink or blend in. You were placed here to shift atmospheres, to awaken, to remind even the darkest forces that true light cannot be extinguished. What happened wasn't random. It was a divine confirmation of the mission inside you, one you're only beginning to grasp. And it's time you step into it. So don't just hear this, feel it. Let it awaken what's already within you. Because from the moment you crossed paths with darkness, everything began to change. And now, so must you. You didn't destroy the darkness, you transformed it. If you felt this message in your spirit, drop 777 in the comments to confirm you're walking in divine purpose. Your light isn't just resisting evil, it's rewriting the story. And hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoy this insight. What began as a calculated attack, cold, strategic, and certain, quickly unraveled into chaos. It was meant to be a hunt, a silent execution. But your presence disrupted everything. You didn't fight with words or force. You didn't retaliate with anger. Instead, you held your ground with something far more powerful: peace. And that peace, it unsettled the darkness. It wasn't just what you did. It was how you were. Your stillness, your unshaken posture in the face of something so dark that was the disruption. This demon had conquered many before you, crushing them through fear, confusion, or manipulation. But you didn't respond the way it expected. Your calm wasn't weakness, it was a declaration. A silent but undeniable affirmation that something greater was within you. And for the first time, it felt powerless. Your light didn't just resist its darkness, it began to alter it. The moment it stood before you, something inside it started to fracture. Its power couldn't hold in your presence. Your very essence revealed the cracks, the lies, the deep flaws it had long hidden. It wasn't a battle of strength. It was an unveiling of truth. Every attempt to break you only exposed how broken it was. Every tactic it deployed fell flat against your calm. And with each failure, it began to question everything. Because you weren't just surviving, you were revealing. Revealing something it couldn't fight, couldn't touch, couldn't understand. And that realization, it shook it. What was supposed to be an effortless victory became a spiritual reckoning. For the first time, the demon tasted vulnerability. Not because you attacked, but because you couldn't be moved. It lost control not by force but by light. A light that stood firm. A light that couldn't be bent. A light that refused to be distorted. And now it knows you carry something it cannot touch. And that truth is its greatest fear. It came to this realization slowly, but with painful clarity. Every attempt to break you had the opposite effect. Instead of weakening you, it found itself confronting its own fears, its buried flaws, and even the traumas that shaped its existence. You didn't just resist, you forced it to look inward, in a way it had never experienced before. And the impact of that encounter didn't stop with just the two of you. What took place between light and darkness echoed beyond your moment together. It rippled through unseen realms and dimensions far beyond human perception. Because when something as pure as divine light meets something as corrupted as darkness, the very fabric of spiritual balance shifts. Without even realizing it, the way you stood in that moment created waves that affected more than just the immediate, it influenced the world around you. Your choices and your unwavering posture didn't just dismantle a dark entity's control. They became a beacon to others, even those watching silently from a distance. You demonstrated that it's possible to resist evil without losing yourself. That single event became a milestone, a spiritual turning point that surpasses ordinary comprehension. And now, the demon can no longer deny what took place. It came with full intent to destroy, and instead, it was changed. Not instantly, but undeniably. The moment it realized its tactics weren't working, something began to unravel. The control it once held over its own darkness started to slip. And in that unraveling, something unexpected emerged: admiration. Against its will, it began to feel respect for you. Not because of force or fear, but because your strength came from a place it could not access, something internal, unwavering, and entirely foreign to the realm it came from. And that recognition wasn't just shocking, it was identity-shattering. It had thrown everything at you: manipulative words, emotional assaults, illusions meant to distort your reality. The goal was simple: to break you from the inside out, to shake your certainty, and extinguish your light. It knew how to exploit weaknesses, and had done so with many before. But with you, everything was different. Nothing worked. You didn't respond with hatred. You didn't spiral into despair. You didn't fall for its traps. Every attempt to control you only pushed it deeper into confusion. Because in the face of darkness, you remained whole. Your truth, your peace, and your unshakable conviction became a wall it could not climb, a force it could not penetrate. And that is when it realized you were not like the others. You were something it had never prepared for. But it wasn't just confused, it was enraged. Your presence didn't simply resist its power, it challenged everything it believed about control. What unsettled it the most wasn't your defiance, it was your clarity. You saw through its illusions. The fear, the doubt, the deception. It had used those tools for so long to dominate others, to bend their will. But you didn't flinch. You saw beyond the shadows, beyond the masks, straight into its core. And that, more than anything, disarmed it. It wasn't used to being seen, truly seen. Yet you looked past every layer of darkness it cloaked itself in, and in doing so, revealed its vulnerability. It began to understand that your strength wasn't something external, something to be taken or broken. It came from deep within, from a place untouched by manipulation. And that strength demanded respect. As it pressed on with its strategies, something inside it began to shift. Doubt crept in, not about you, but about itself. You, without even trying, forced it to face parts of itself it had long buried. It wasn't just uncomfortable, it was destabilizing. Because this demon wasn't designed for self-reflection. It was created to destroy, to consume, to overpower. But now, for the first time, it was questioning everything, including its own purpose. It saw that you were not like the others it had conquered. You were different. You were not reacting, you were revealing. And what you were revealing was its truth. A truth it could no longer outrun or suppress. This internal confrontation wasn't just unexpected, it was transformative. Something inside it was changing, and it didn't know how to stop it. Control, once its greatest weapon, was slipping away. And yet, the most terrifying part wasn't the loss of control, it was what replaced it. Not hatred. Not rage. But admiration. The more it tried to manipulate you, the more it found itself altered. What began as a battle to destroy you was becoming a lesson it never intended to receive. You weren't just resisting. You were awakening something in it that it didn't even know existed. It began to realize that this encounter was never just about you. Deep within, a new awareness stirred. Perhaps it was sent to you not to win, but to awaken. This moment wasn't a mistake or some random twist of fate, it was part of something greater. A purpose it could not fully comprehend, but one it could no longer deny. You made it question everything, its mission, its role, even its very identity. In its effort to destroy you, it came face to face with a truth it couldn't defeat. And that truth began to shape something unfamiliar within it. For the first time, it asked itself a question it had never dared to consider: who am I beyond what I've been told to be? Its transformation didn't come in a flash. It was slow, unfolding, but undeniable. Each encounter with you peeled back another layer, exposing not just the lies it believed, but the pain it carried, the choices it had made, and the identity it had clung to. It was sent to dismantle you, but instead, it found itself unraveling. The very shadows it had once taken refuge in were now crumbling beneath the weight of your light. Then came the feeling it never thought it could have: fragility. But this fragility didn't weaken it. It revealed something that had been buried: awareness. For the first time, it considered that its mission might not be destruction after all, but discovery. As it was forced to confront its nature, something deeper emerged. It began to see that your strength wasn't just a wall it couldn't break, it was an invitation. Not one of force, not a plea to be saved, but a quiet, unwavering light that offered a choice. And that choice was more powerful than anything it had ever known. You showed it without words that even darkness can be given the chance to change. For all its existence, it believed it was bound to one path, confined to one role. But now, that belief was breaking. The process hurt. Doubt replaced certainty. Chaos swallowed control. Yet within that chaos, it began to taste something it never imagined possible: freedom. Freedom from the script it was forced to follow. Freedom from the identity it had never questioned. And with that freedom came a deeper understanding that true power doesn't come from domination, but from the courage to confront yourself. And that was the gift you gave it. Not through force or argument, but through the quiet, bold way you stood in your truth. Your presence, your authenticity, and your unwavering calm became the mirror that made it see itself for the first time. And in that reflection, the impossible began to happen. It started to change. This transformation was never just personal. It carried far greater implications. When something so profound occurs, the impact stretches far beyond the individuals involved. What began as a shift within the demon started to ripple outward, resonating across unseen dimensions and subtly altering the balance between light and darkness. This encounter was not just about you, and it was part of a larger design. Your light didn't only reveal its shadows, it began to restructure the very spiritual atmosphere surrounding it. Though it may have felt like a personal moment, this event belongs to something divine in scale, something far beyond human comprehension. And you, simply by staying rooted in your true essence, became the catalyst for that change. Now, the demon can no longer deny what is unfolding. It has been changed. Once a predator, it now feels something it never expected: vulnerability and, strangely, a glimmer of hope. It may not fully understand what the future holds, but one thing is certain: it is no longer the same. And all of this began because you stood firm. Because you refused to bend under the weight of the darkness it brought. This was not a battle won by might or violence. It was a transformation sparked by truth. And even if it never fully admits it, the demon knows it was your presence that initiated this shift. What passed between you extended beyond the immediate. It triggered a deeper realignment, one that cannot be seen with human eyes but is already reshaping spiritual reality. The delicate balance between light and darkness, often invisible and unspoken, began to adjust. It wasn't a dramatic upheaval, but a steady and undeniable shift, like a river slowly carving a new path. What happened between you wasn't just an encounter. It was an awakening that reached into deeper layers of existence. By facing the shadow without becoming it, you created a fracture in the long-standing pattern that governed these cosmic forces. It was as if the universe itself paused to reconsider the rules. The ancient rhythm of destruction and resistance had been interrupted and replaced with something new: the possibility of restoration. The change that began within the demon has started to open doors in the spiritual realm, doors that were once sealed by conflict. Where there was only opposition, there is now the potential for understanding, for integration. And at the center of this shift is your posture, rooted not in force, but in truth and authenticity. You didn't just disarm the darkness. You planted a seed of transformation that will echo across realms far beyond your own. This seed, though small, carries the potential to generate something much greater. The struggle between light and shadow, so often marked by violence and antagonism, now had a new element: the possibility of mutual transformation. You proved without deliberate intention that confrontation does not need to be destructive to result in change. This does not mean that conflict has ceased to exist. The tension between light and darkness is intrinsic to the balance of the universe. But what has changed is the way this balance is achieved. Your presence demonstrated that light does not need to eliminate darkness to triumph. It can instead transform it. This understanding has opened new paths for the spiritual evolution of all involved, from humans to the forces operating on higher planes. What once seemed fixed, immutable, is now fluid and full of possibilities. This is the true impact of your encounter, not just a momentary victory, but a transformation that alters the very dynamics of the universe. For the demon, this new reality was disconcerting. It had never experienced anything like it before. It always knew what to do. Always carried out its missions with precision and efficiency. But now it was faced with something that made it question everything. It realized that it was no longer just about destroying or being destroyed. Now, it had the opportunity to choose. Something it had never considered before. This choice, though frightening for it, was also liberating. It was being confronted with the possibility of a different path, and that changed everything. In this context, the role of the chosen one became even more evident. Your mission is not just personal but also collective. What you did in this encounter goes beyond transforming a being or resolving a conflict. You opened doors that were once closed, not just for it, but for everyone facing the tension between light and shadow in their own lives. Your posture, your strength, and your truth became an example of how even the darkest challenges can be transformed into opportunities for growth and evolution. This is the impact of the Chosen One. To create profound changes, not just within yourself, but in everything around you. You did not try to save the demon. That was never your intention, but by remaining steadfast in your essence, you created the space necessary for it to confront its own truths. Your presence, marked by authenticity and inner strength, was the trigger for a transformation process it could never have imagined. This shows the true role of the Chosen One, to be a catalyst for profound change, not through impositions, but through the simple act of existing and standing firm in the face of chaos. You did not force it to change. You showed it that there was another possibility, and this freedom of choice is what makes the transformation genuine. This ability to provoke change goes far beyond this encounter. It affects everything around you. Your capacity to maintain inner peace, even in the face of the greatest adversities, creates an impact that inspires others to do the same. It is not something you plan or force. It simply happens because you choose to remain true to who you are. This fidelity to yourself is not just a demonstration of personal strength, but also a reminder to those who observe you that true change begins within. Your light does not fade in the face of darkness, and this is something everyone, including the demon, is forced to acknowledge. What happened in this encounter is proof that the role of the Chosen One is not to destroy darkness, but to integrate it. This does not mean accepting evil or ignoring its effects, but recognizing that even in shadow there are possibilities for transformation. This approach is much more challenging because it requires patience, resilience, and a deep understanding of oneself. However, it is also the only approach that creates lasting and meaningful change, and you demonstrated this clearly. Your resistance and your truth not only disarmed the demon, but also paved the way for a new kind of balance. This mission you carry is not easy. Facing darkness, whether external or internal, is a task that demands more than courage. It requires a constant commitment to truth, but it is precisely this commitment that sets you apart. The impact you had in this encounter is just a reflection of the impact you can have on the world around you. Every choice you make, every time you choose light over shadow, you are creating waves of change that extend far beyond what you can see, and this is what makes your journey so important. The demon in turn now understands that its transformation was possible because you remained unshakable. It realizes that true power does not lie in brute force or manipulation, but in the ability to stand firm in the face of chaos. This lesson, though painful for it, is also liberating. It may not admit it now, but it knows that something within it has changed forever, and this change was only possible because you chose to be who you are without compromising your truth. This not only transformed it, but also reinforced the greater purpose that brought you here. The encounter between you and the demon was not a coincidence. Every moment, every exchange, every decision was part of something much greater. A plan that transcends what can be easily seen or understood. It is a dance between light and shadow, something that has existed since the beginning of time, and will continue as long as there is balance to be maintained. You and it were placed on the same path, not as enemies, but as opposing elements that when they meet, have the potential to create something new. This event reflects a karmic cycle where seemingly irreconcilable forces intersect to provoke profound changes, both in those involved and in the balance of the universe. Within this greater plan, your role is clear. You are a living example of overcoming, of how it is possible to face even the darkest forces without losing integrity. But more than that, you demonstrate that darkness does not need to be destroyed for light to prevail. This understanding not only alters the dynamics of the encounter, but also serves as a beacon for others facing their own internal struggles. Just as you face the demon, others also face the shadows within themselves. Your posture and choices become a model for those seeking to overcome their own battles. This interaction is not just a reflection of the universal struggle between light and shadow, but also a mirror of the internal journey of every being. Everyone at some point is confronted with parts of themselves they would rather ignore. But just as you face the demon with authenticity and strength, your story teaches that facing these shadows is the first step toward transformation. Your presence and courage create a collective impact, inspiring others not just to resist, but to transform what once seemed insurmountable. This is the true power of the Chosen One. Not to fight against shadows, but to integrate them in a way that generates growth and balance. The demon, now in the midst of its transformation process, begins to understand that its encounter with you was not just a test for you, but also a lesson for it. It was forced to confront something. It had always avoided its own fragility and the possibility of choice for the first time. It realizes that it is not limited to the role it has always played. It does not have to be just an agent of destruction. This realization, though painful, is also liberating. It begins to understand that even those created to live in shadows can find a different path, as long as they are willing to face their own truths. This process of transformation, both for it and for you, is a reflection of something much greater. It is a reminder that every encounter, every confrontation, is an opportunity for growth and evolution. You did not just change the trajectory of a dark being. You showed that light, when firm and authentic, has the power to transform everything around it. And this lesson, though deeply personal, carries universal implications. It demonstrates that the balance between light and shadow is not a battle to be won, but a dance to be understood, and you, Chosen One, are an essential part of that dance. Now the demon is no longer the same. It was forced to face truths that were once buried. In its essence, it saw that it is not bound to the role imposed on it, and that there are possibilities it had never considered. And all of this happened because you chose to be true to who you are. It was not through force or control, but through authenticity and truth. Its transformation is not just personal. It is proof that the balance between light and shadow can be achieved. And this, Chosen One, is the most powerful legacy you can leave. What you did was not just an isolated act, it was a milestone in something much greater. You did not just transform a demon. You challenged a system that has always operated through fear and destruction. Your presence showed that there is another path, that light does not need to fight darkness to triumph, but can instead integrate and transform it. This understanding is not limited to this encounter. It extends to everything you do. Every choice you make reinforces this legacy. Every action creates new possibilities for those who observe you, even without you realizing it. Your impact does not end here. What you provoked in this encounter is just the beginning of something greater. Your journey will continue to lead you into situations where your light will be tested, where forces will try to divert you. But now you know what happens when you remain true to your essence. You not only survived this confrontation, but emerged from it stronger, more aware of your role and the impact your presence creates. This does not mean the challenges are over, but it means you understand the purpose behind each one. You are not here to hide or live defensively. You are here to expand this light and continue transforming what needs to be changed. The transformation you caused in the demon does not mean it became completely different. Overnight change is a process, and now it faces a path it had never considered before. But the simple fact that it is no longer the same proves that your presence was enough to plant the seed of evolution. And this is the mark of the chosen one. Not to impose change, but to create the space where change becomes inevitable. You showed that even those created to destroy can find another alternative when confronted with truth. And this truth does not come from force, but from clarity and integrity in how you live your mission. Now the path before you continues to unfold, full of new interactions, new challenges, and new opportunities to expand this impact. But one thing is certain: you are not the same as before you emerged from this encounter, with more understanding, more depth, and more awareness of what it truly means to be a chosen one. And this understanding cannot be taken from you. It has become part of who you are, an unshakable truth that will continue to guide every step of your journey. What you do from here will further define the impact you leave on the world. But regardless of future challenges, one thing is certain: your light will continue to change everything around you. If you have made it this far, you already know that this encounter was not just about a demon trying to destroy you. It was a test, a revelation, a confirmation of the strength you carry within you. Not only survived this confrontation, but transformed it, creating an impact that goes beyond your own experience. Now, the question that defines everything remains: how will you use this knowledge from now on? Your light has already proven it can alter the course of what seemed immutable, so what will you do with it? This is the question that will determine not only your future, but the ongoing impact you will have on the world around you. You are not alone on this journey. There are others like you facing similar challenges, discovering their power, and learning to deal with the forces trying to extinguish their light. So share this message, help other chosen ones understand what is happening to them. If this story resonated with you, click the button below and subscribe. Do not let this transformation stop here. There is much more to be revealed, and every chosen one who awakens strengthens the collective impact we are creating. Do not forget to leave the number 777 in the comments to manifest that you are ready for divine intervention, and continue your journey by watching the recommended video on the screen. Here you will find more transformative messages to fuel your journey. May your journey be illuminated, and may you never lose the courage to follow your instincts. Until the next video, and may the peace of God always be with you.